The day everything broke started with something as boring as a dead phone battery. I was waiting in the parking lot of my mechanic shop, watching a guy with a wrench argue with someone on the phone, when I realized mine had shut off sometime during the drive. It wasn't dramatic. It just went black. No warning. Just gone. And that tiny, forgettable moment, me sitting in that cracked leather seat, staring at a dead screen, was the last time my life made any kind of sense. I dropped my truck off the day before. Jessica was supposed to pick me up this morning. She was late. Not a little late. 38 minutes late. I remember the number because I checked the wall clock in the office 3 times. Then I called her from the guy's desk phone, something I hadn't done in years. She didn't answer, so I took a bus. And let me tell you, nothing feels more humiliating than sitting on a smelly public bus with a plastic bag full of car paperwork, thinking about how your wife is probably still asleep, phone on silent, or just forgot. That's what I told myself. That she forgot. The house was quiet when I got home. Not cozy quiet, silent. Thick kind of silent. I opened the front door and the air felt still, like it was holding its breath. I walked through the hallway, past the living room, kitchen, nothing seemed out of place. But then, in the hallway mirror, I caught it, just for a second. Her reflection behind mine walking out of the guest bedroom. She was barefoot, wearing one of those oversized t-shirts that aren't hers, and she froze the moment our eyes met in the glass. I turned around. She didn't say my name, didn't look surprised. No gasp, no apology. She looked annoyed. I said, "You weren't answering your phone." She shrugged. I turned it off. That was all. Not even a hello. I walked toward her. "Who's here?" "What?" "The shirt. That's not mine." "It's not yours either." She looked down at it like she was seeing it for the first time, then smiled. Not a soft smile. The kind of smile you give a child who asks a dumb question. "I like it," she said. "Comfortable." My head was full of static. I knew something was off. I felt it, but I didn't want to believe it yet. So I did something pathetic. I asked, "Did someone spend the night?" She blinked slowly. "You're being dramatic. Did someone sleep in that room?" She crossed her arms. "Maybe. Why does it matter?" There it was. The word. Maybe. And my stomach dropped like I'd been pushed off a building. "You brought someone into this house?" She sighed. Like I'd asked her why she didn't take out the trash. "I didn't bring anyone," she said. "He came over. We talked. You're the one acting crazy. You slept with him here." She didn't deny it. Didn't flinch. Instead, she turned her back to me and started walking toward the kitchen. Over her shoulder, she said something I'll never forget. "Plenty of men would love to have me." That sentence, it didn't just hurt. It sliced something open. I followed her. My voice was shaking. "Then go find one. Right now. Go test that theory." She turned, leaning against the counter, sipping from a glass of water like we were in some stupid rom-com. "You sure about that?" she said. "You really want to play chicken with me?" I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I suddenly realized who she really was, and that she wasn't bluffing. I looked at her, really looked, and saw a woman who didn't care anymore. Not about me. Not about our marriage. Not about anything. So I stepped back, and I said, "Fine. Try your luck." Her eyes narrowed just a bit, and I saw a flicker of something that almost looked like fear, or maybe ego bruised. Hard to tell. But then it was gone. She turned away again, muttering, "You'll regret this." Maybe, maybe not. But in that moment, for the first time in a long time, I felt something clearer than confusion, rage, or betrayal. I felt free. And that was just the start. I didn't pack a bag. I didn't slam any doors. I just walked out. I took the truck even though it still had engine trouble. Half a mile down the road, the check engine light came on like it was cheering me on. I drove anyway. Drove until I ended up parked outside a 24-hour diner I hadn't thought about in 10 years. I used to come here in college with friends who all moved away or got fat or cheated on each other. Seemed like a fitting place to sit and process how stupid I'd been. I didn't even order food. Just stared at a mug of black coffee until the waitress stopped asking if I needed anything else. I wasn't thinking clearly, but I couldn't shake her voice. "You'll regret this. Not we. Not us. Just you." She'd already detached. Already made the mental leap to the next guy. Hell, for all I knew, she was texting him from our kitchen table right then. And still, a part of me was hoping it wasn't real. That maybe it was just an emotional affair. That maybe she hadn't crossed that line. But then I remembered the guest room bed. How tight the sheets had been tucked, military style. How the air in that room had smelled like deodorant I didn't use. She didn't even try to hide it. That's what kept hitting me in waves. She didn't bother with a cover story. No lies about a cousin in town, no fake friend drama. Just bold, blank indifference. I called my best friend, Nate. We hadn't spoken in weeks, but I didn't have anyone else who knew both of us well enough to give it to me straight. He answered like I'd called him from a hospital bed. Man, what's wrong? I think she cheated. You think? She told me, basically. Say it all. So I did. I told him about the shirt, the bed, the quote about men wanting her. The smugness. The smile. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "You want to know something weird?" "What?" "I saw her last week. At the gym. With a guy. Not the usual trainer dude. He looked like they were close." I thought about saying something, but I didn't want to start anything if it was nothing. "You think it was him?" "Maybe. But if it wasn't, it's not the first." My stomach turned. "What do you mean?" "I mean, Jess always had this vibe. Like she was only loyal as long as she was worshipped. She never told me she was unhappy. She doesn't say it. She waits until she feels bigger than the relationship. Then she burns the whole thing down." That was the moment the full picture started to form. Because it wasn't just about this guy. It was about all the small things she'd done the last few months. The digs disguised as jokes. The weird, passive-aggressive comments about my job. The way she'd started wearing perfume again. But not for me. She'd been pulling away for a while. She just hadn't bothered to mention it. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the truck until the sun came up, my phone vibrating every so often. For missed calls. All from her. No texts. No apologies. No explanations. Just the silent ringing, as if she expected me to chase her. The fifth time it rang, I answered. "Where are you?" she asked. No warmth. No worry. Just control. "You don't get to ask that anymore. Don't be dramatic. You slept with someone. In our house." Pause. Then, "I didn't sleep with anyone. You assume a lot for someone who ran off." I let the silence sit. Then she said, quieter. "Are you really throwing everything away over this?" That question told me everything I needed to know. Because to her, none of this was betrayal. It was just a bump, a mistake, a thing that men are supposed to just swallow. But I wasn't going to swallow it. "You made the choice," I said. "I'm just reacting to it." She scoffed. "You're weak." "No," I said. "I'm finally done." And I hung up. The thing no one tells you about betrayal is how quiet it is after. There's no thunderclap, no fireworks, just silence. Everything feels padded, like the world is muffled and far away. That morning, I drove back to the house. Not to talk, not to argue, but to see it one more time before I made a decision. And as I turned onto our street, something hit me harder than I expected. Her car wasn't in the driveway again. It was 8:17 a.m. She should have been home. I parked across the street and watched our front door like it might open on its own and confess everything. Then I saw it. Another car. Not one I recognized. A black sedan, tinted windows, pulled up smooth like it knew where it was going. My pulse jumped. The guy didn't get out immediately. He sat there for a second. Then the door opened, and he stepped out, phone in hand. Tall, athletic, clean shave, wearing the same cologne I'd smelled 2 nights ago. My throat went dry. He walked right up to the door. No hesitation. No knocking. Used a key. He had a key. I didn't move. Couldn't. My hands were gripping the wheel so tight the plastic creaked. 10 minutes passed. Maybe 15. I stared at the house like it had become foreign. Like I didn't live there. Like my life was being rewritten in real time and I was just an audience member now. Then my phone buzzed. A text from her. "We need to talk. Don't make this worse than it is." Worse than it is. Like I was the one turning this into a tragedy. Like she hadn't detonated everything with her choices. I didn't reply. I didn't drive away either. I sat there and waited. At 9:03 a.m., the door opened. He came out alone. He wasn't rushing. He looked calm. fulfilled, almost. He didn't glance around or act suspicious. Just strolled to his car and drove off like he was leaving work after a job well done. And still no call. No explanation. No apology. Just silence. I drove to the locksmith. Told him I needed every lock changed that day. Back at the house, I threw out everything that looked like it had touched him. The glass on the counter. The blanket on the couch. I ripped the sheets off the guest bed and threw them into the fire pit in the backyard. I didn't care about evidence or dramatic flair. I just wanted it all gone. Then I packed her things. Not all of them. Just enough. Clothes. Toiletries. Shoes. The stupid mug she always used that said, "Not today, Satan." I tossed them into black trash bags and left them outside the door. She pulled up at 11:41 a.m., got out slowly, stared at the bags. She didn't speak right away, just looked at me like I was an insect she didn't remember stepping on. "Really?" she said. "You're doing this now? In daylight? Like you're some hero?" I didn't say a word. She walked toward me. "This is our house." "Not anymore. I haven't even explained. You had him here again. This morning." She didn't deny it. Just crossed her arms, eyes narrowing. "You were spying?" "I was watching my house. The one you desecrated." "Oh, please," she snapped. "It's not desecration. It's reality. You got too comfortable. You stopped trying. And now someone else is showing me what I deserve. That's your excuse?" "No," she said, voice sharp. "That's my freedom. You just didn't see it coming because you were too busy playing safe." There it was. The twist of the knife. She wasn't sorry. She was proud. I stepped aside, nodded to the bags. "You said plenty of men would love to have you." So I stepped aside. "Let one of them try." She stared at me. Something flickered in her face. Not regret. Not even anger. Just realization. That I was done. That there was no begging, no drama, no fight she could win this time. And I closed the door in her face. That was the last time she stood in my home. That it's strange how fast you can unlearn someone. For days after I shut the door on her, my house felt like a museum of a life I didn't recognize. Her handwriting on sticky notes still on the fridge. "Buy oat milk. Call your mom." Like echoes from someone pretending to be a wife. Half-used lotion bottles in the bathroom. Her robe behind the door. That stupid cactus she named and never watered. I started removing things. Not because they were hers, but because I couldn't stand the idea of her anymore. The ghost of her. I boxed up photos. Tore pages out of cookbooks with her notes scribbled in the margins. Burned a playlist we made together onto a CD just so I could crush it under my heel. I didn't want reminders. I wanted purge. But the thing is, no matter how much you clean, some messes stay internal. The part that stung most wasn't the betrayal. It was realizing how long I'd been fooled. She hadn't just lied. She'd trained me not to question her. Months ago, she started working late twice a week. Said her boss needed help with the quarterly reports. I never questioned it. I brought her dinner sometimes. Sat in the parking lot like a dog waiting outside a restaurant. Once, I remember seeing her get out of a different car. Not hers. She looked flushed. Said her coworker had driven her because hers was in the shop. I didn't even blink. She layered the lies so well. I wore them like armor. But now that I could finally see it, everything was tainted. I spent 2 days in that house without speaking to anyone. My phone vibrated constantly. Texts, missed calls, even emails from her. Then from her sister, her mom, friends. They all wanted to talk, but not a single one of them asked how I was. They just parroted the same thing. Maybe you should hear her out. As if her side of the story held some magic truth that would make betrayal look like a misunderstanding. Then the worst one came from her cousin, Lindsay. We'd always gotten along. She texted me, "Don't throw away something real over one mistake." She's scared. That's why she's lashing out. One mistake. You don't give a man a key to your house if he's a one-time mistake. You don't change your body language, your tone, your loyalty. For one mistake. This wasn't a fall. It was a campaign. That's when something in me shifted. I started printing. Screenshots. Phone logs. Call durations. Dates. Times. I started connecting threads. Like a detective in a movie, but this wasn't fiction. This was the wreckage of my life. And the timeline was brutal. The nights she said she was too tired to talk. Long phone calls to a number saved as T. The weekends she suddenly needed space. Charges from out-of-town hotels. Even the guest room sheets. Bought 2 weeks before I caught her. On my Amazon account. Delivered while I was at work. She didn't just cheat. She planned it. This wasn't impulse. It was strategy. And I had the receipts. That night, I went to the drawer with our marriage certificate. Stared at it for a long time. Felt like a relic. Some historical document that had nothing to do with the people we were now. And I realized something else. I didn't want revenge. I wanted erasure. Not vengeance. Not closure. Just for her to vanish from the timeline of my life like a glitch I could delete. And I knew exactly how I was going to start. I hired a lawyer the next morning. His office smelled like old coffee and the kind of confidence that comes from watching people burn their lives down daily. His name was David. Mid-50s. Wore a wedding ring but never mentioned his wife. That told me enough. He didn't ask if I wanted to reconcile. He asked, "What's your goal?" "Clean cut," I said. "No drama. No second chances." He nodded. "You have proof." I slid the folder across the desk, printouts, call logs, screenshots. No graphic details. Just timestamps. Patterns. Enough to paint a portrait of betrayal without needing to describe what positions they tried. David barely blinked as he read. He's probably seen worse. But he did pause at one thing. "She gave him a key?" "Yeah." "Did you record her admitting it?" "No." But she didn't deny it when I confronted her. Not once. Still, he had access. That changes things. "What do you mean?" "If we push this hard, she might get defensive. Might try to claim you were the one who abandoned the marriage. We need to get ahead of that." I already knew what that meant. Character assassination. Smear campaigns. People turning into politicians when the truth isn't on their side. "Let her try," I said. "Everything she's got. I'll match it." David smiled. Not warmly. Professionally. "Then we'll make it quick." That night, I wrote her a letter. Not because I owed her one, but because I wanted my last words to be written with clarity, not rage. I didn't send it, just left it on the kitchen table. It said, "This isn't about him. It's about the moment you decided I didn't matter. You gambled everything on your own ego. You were right about one thing: plenty of men might want you. Let them. Some lessons teach themselves." She came back 2 days later with her sister. I saw them pull up through the window. I didn't go out. Just watched them gather the rest of her stuff like thieves who knew the cameras were rolling. Her sister knocked once. I didn't answer. Instead, I sat in the hallway, out of view, listening to her footsteps as she moved through what used to be our house. Her scent was still in the air, but faint now, fading. She didn't linger, didn't cry, didn't even knock on my office door. Just walked out of my life like she had an Uber waiting and a new plan to execute. When the door shut, I stood up, walked through every room, touched the places she used to dominate, the mirror she always adjusted, the drawer where she kept her favorite rings, the chair she curled into when she was pretending to read. Everything was still. Everything was finally mine again. The silence didn't hurt anymore. Felt earned. And I hadn't even filed the papers yet. But I would. Soon. I didn't expect the loneliness to feel so sharp. Not at first. The first few days were all motion. Paperwork, cleaning, dropping her name from the utilities, getting rid of anything she'd ever personalized. Her shoes were the last to go. She had a pair of white sneakers with a pink stripe, always kicked off by the front door, like she was halfway home before she stepped inside. I held them for a long time before I dropped them into the donation box. They still had that bend in the heel where she used to shove them on without unlacing. That tiny detail made me feel like I'd swallowed glass. I kept telling myself this was what I wanted. No, needed. But when the noise of the cleanup faded, and the house was finally still in the way I thought I craved, the silence felt surgical. You don't realize how many routines are built around another person until they're gone. I'd open the fridge and expect to see her yogurt cups. I'd turn on the TV and instinctively avoid shows she hated, even though I could watch whatever the hell I wanted now. I didn't talk much, barely texted anyone. People reached out. Friends, coworkers. Most asked the same thing in different ways. "You okay?" I gave the same answer every time. "Yeah, just clearing my head." But the truth was, I wasn't sure what I was anymore. I wasn't a husband. Not really. I wasn't single either. Not in my bones. I was just a guy standing in the wreckage of a future that never happened. And still, no apology. No confession. No why did I do this? Instead, she posted a photo on social media. Her, at a rooftop bar, hair curled, red lips, that glassy stare she used when she wanted attention. Captioned, "Thriving. Life has a funny way of working out." That post got 200 likes. Mutual friends hearted it. Some commented with fire emojis. One even said, "He missed out." That one hit harder than I expected. Because it wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was narrative control. She was turning herself into a survivor, painting me as the dead weight she escaped. And I knew how this would go. She'd tell people I was cold, distant, that I shut down emotionally, that she tried, but I was just too stuck in my ways. People love that story. It's palatable, easy. No villains, just growth. But it wasn't true. I remembered every time I asked her what was wrong and she said, "Nothing." Every date night I planned that ended with her checking her phone under the table. Every time I reached for her and she pulled away, said she was tired, then stayed up another 2 hours watching TikToks and texting God knows who. She chose this spiral. I just finally stopped standing in her way. Still, the lies stung. So I made a decision. I wouldn't chase down people's opinions. Wouldn't write long explanations or try to clear my name. I'd let her tell her story. But I'd make damn sure it was the last one she ever got to write about me. That I never replied to her post. Not directly. But I noticed something after that photo went up. People started peeling away. Not from me. From her. A few of our mutual friends, quiet ones, not the drama chasers, started reaching out. One by one. Always with the same hesitant tone. Like they were dipping their toes into dangerous water. "Hey, I saw that thing she posted. Just checking in. Are you okay? You don't have to talk about it. But if you want to, I'm around." Then came the shift. I always had a weird feeling about her. She could be intense. I'm just gonna say it. I don't like how she's handling this. Surprised me. I'd expected silence. Or worse, blind loyalty. But people were watching. And they were seeing the cracks now that she didn't have me to hold up the mask. I didn't need to defend myself. Her ego was doing the demolition for me. Still, I wasn't interested in being the quiet, stoic ex-husband either. I wanted one thing documented. Not revenge. Just the truth. So I sent out one email. Not to everyone. Just to a very specific circle, 6 people. Friends who knew both of us well. I didn't rant. I didn't insult her. I just attached a PDF. One file. Timestamps, screenshots, phone logs. No commentary. Just facts. I ended the message with 2 lines. "This is for clarity. I won't be discussing this again." I didn't need replies. And honestly, I didn't get many. But the silence after? It was different now. It wasn't isolation. It was quiet respect. Even Nate, my best friend, the one who told me about seeing her with the other guy, he messaged me later that night. "You handled that with more class than I would have." It wasn't about class. It was about finality. Because I was done letting her script the story. And I was done playing her straight man. Then, a week later, she called. I almost didn't answer. But I did. I was curious. Her voice was different. No venom. Just small. Like a kid rehearsing a speech they didn't believe in. "Hey," she said. Silence. "You sent out that file?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because I wanted the truth to live somewhere." More silence. "You made me look like a monster." "No. I didn't add a single opinion. Just timestamps." She exhaled hard. Like she'd been holding her breath for days. Then, so soft I almost missed it. "I didn't think you'd walk away this easily." That hit. Because in that moment, I realized exactly what had fueled her confidence this whole time. She thought I couldn't. She thought I'd orbit her forever. That I'd absorb the humiliation, the rewriting, the smirks, and the gaslighting, and still come crawling back, tail tucked, begging for crumbs of affection. But I didn't, and that scared her more than anything. So I answered, flat, "You should've." Then I hung up, and this time I knew she wouldn't call again. The days after that call were strange. Not triumphant. Not peaceful. just weightless, like I'd been bracing for impact that never came. I expected retaliation, another smear post, a fake apology, a misunderstood victim tour on Instagram, but she vanished. From me, from mutual friends, from everything. People say silence is golden, but when it comes after chaos, it feels more like a countdown. I didn't trust it, so I kept moving. I started waking up early, earlier than usual, 5 a.m., sometimes earlier. Not to be productive, just because I couldn't stay in bed. The sheets still felt wrong. The mattress remembered her shape. So I started running. Down empty streets, past sleepy houses. No music, just breath, asphalt, and the ache in my legs. Something about physical pain made the emotional stuff easier to file away. One morning, I ran past a park where she once told me she wanted to renew our vows. She had this idea: outdoor ceremony, close friends, matching sneakers instead of shoes. She talked about it like it was a Netflix pitch. Detailed, vivid, full of "we'll laugh at the chaos" charm. I remember smiling at her like it was the sweetest thing in the world. Now all I saw was a picnic bench and a trash can. That's grief. Not the loud kind. The quiet reprogramming of memory. The purging of old meanings. The slow death of sentimentality. It wasn't just about her. It was about the future I'd built around her that now meant nothing. Every decision, every compromise, every plan, we'd etched our initials into the foundation, and now the building didn't exist. So I started fixing things. Not in the house, in myself. I booked therapy. I stopped drinking at night. I reached out to my sister, whom I hadn't spoken to much in the past year. She'd always hated my ex. Never said it. But I knew. The way she'd smile too tightly. The way she always hugged me a second longer. When I told her the marriage was over, she didn't say, "I'm sorry." She said, "Took you long enough." And I laughed. Really laughed. For the first time in weeks. Because she was right. I'd held on too long. To her. To us. To the image of a woman who stopped existing long before she brought someone else into our bed. But here's the thing no one warns you about healing. It's boring. It's slow. It's 1,000 quiet decisions you make when no one's looking. Like not checking her socials. Like deleting old photos without flinching. Like saying, "I'm divorced" without shame the first time someone asks. I still had moments. Flashbacks. Little punches to the gut. Like hearing a song she loved at the grocery store and almost texting her before I remembered. Like folding laundry and realizing I didn't have to separate her delicates anymore. Like reaching for the extra cup when I made coffee, then laughing at myself for the reflex. But those moments passed quicker now. And when they left, they took a little more of her with them. I didn't hate her anymore. I didn't want her back. But I understood her. She needed worship. I offered love. She wanted chaos. I gave stability. She craved spotlight. I gave her a home. She called it suffocating. But I finally saw it clearly. I was never the villain in her story. I just wasn't a prop that bent to her narrative. About a month after I filed, I got a letter in the mail. Not from her. From a name I didn't recognize. A man. Handwritten envelope. No return address. Inside was a single page. Lined paper. Slanted handwriting. No greeting, no signature, just this. I didn't know she was married. Not at first. By the time I found out, I was already in deep. She told me you were separated. That you were cold. Controlling. Emotionally gone. She played the victim so well, man. She cried the first time she told me about you. Said you'd abandoned her without leaving the house. It messed with my head. I thought I was helping her heal. I didn't know I was the damage. When I found out the truth, everything, you were already gone. She said you disappeared like a coward. But I see now. She was never hurting. She was hunting. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even expect a response. Just wanted you to know. Some of us figured it out too late. No name. But I knew who it was. It wasn't the first guy. It was the one after him. The one who came after the door shut. The one she thought would be her next chapter. And even he couldn't hold onto the illusion. I folded the letter, slid it into a drawer. Not out of sentiment. Just to keep the record straight. Because in a strange way, it was the final piece of evidence I didn't know I needed. Not to prove she was a liar. I already knew that. But to prove I wasn't crazy. To confirm what I had felt in my gut all along. She wasn't wounded. She was performing. For sympathy. For admiration. For whatever little dopamine hit she got from being seen as fragile, broken, desirable. She wore victimhood like a perfume and sprayed it on thick enough to distract anyone who got close. But masks slip eventually. Always. That letter was my closure. Not because he said he was sorry, but because someone else finally saw her without the costume. I didn't respond. Didn't hunt him down or post it online. I just walked to the backyard that night, sat in the chair she never liked because it wasn't aesthetic, and watched the sky. Clear. Still. And for the first time in over a year, I didn't think about her. Not with anger. Not with pain. Not with longing. I just didn't think of her at all. It's been 6 months now. People keep asking me if I'm better. I never know how to answer that. What does better even mean after someone you trusted rewrites your entire life while looking you in the eye and smiling? Am I breathing easier? Yes. Am I sleeping deeper? Sometimes. Do I miss her? Not even a little. But I'll tell you what's real. I walk different now. I listen harder. I look at people like they're puzzles instead of pictures. I don't trust quickly. I don't rush to comfort. I've learned how to sit in discomfort without needing to fix it right away. Because sometimes the things we call fixing are really just us trying to rewind time to a version of ourselves that didn't know better. And I know better now. The divorce finalized without fireworks. No courtroom theatrics. Just signatures, stamps, envelopes. A life officially cut in half by law. She didn't show up in person. Sent her lawyer instead. Fitting. She always preferred proxies. People to fight her battles. Clean her mess. Carry her guilt. I walked out of that courthouse not feeling victorious. I felt empty, but not in the tragic way. More like, finally cleared out. Like a room that's been decluttered of everything you were too polite to throw away. I saw her once since then. Random. At a grocery store of all places. She was in the produce section, holding an avocado, frowning like it personally betrayed her. She looked the same, mostly. A little thinner. Smile tighter. Her eyes found mine. Froze. Then flicked away like I was a stranger asking for spare change. She didn't say a word. Neither did I. We just passed. Like we'd never shared a bed. Never shared a life. Like we hadn't once sat in that very same grocery store parking lot planning names for kids we'll never have. I walked past her, picked up a bag of coffee beans and never looked back. And I realized something as I stood in line, watching the cashier scan cans and boxes like life hadn't imploded months ago. I survived. Not dramatically, not triumphantly, but completely. She said, "Plenty of men would love to have me." So I stepped aside and let one of them try. Some lessons teach themselves. And I learned mine all the way through.